Hey guys, how's it going? Hope you're doing well. My name is Crown, and today I'm going to read you some very interesting stories that I hope that you're gonna love. And now, without further ado, let's go! I have literally just ended the phone call that I really didn't expect. There I was, sitting reading a book when my mobile phone rang. I was somewhat surprised to see the caller name that popped up, but answered and started the conversation with "Hello? I didn't expect to hear from you." I was met with a very curt response. "You're on speaker, and I've got client name here with me. I need an update from you on this certain project." I was a bit surprised by this and said, "Sorry, I can't help you with that. Have you asked my colleague?" I was about to carry on when I was interrupted with, "Don't you understand? The client is here and I need an update now. This is not acceptable." I let him rant on for a few more sentences and then said, "Can I just stop you there? Not only will I not be giving you an update, I can't give you an update. Not only am I not working on that project, I don't work for that company anymore. You were copied in on my resignation email." It was so satisfying to put the phone down on this guy. I actually left the company back in 2022. I often deal with quite a few Karens and Kevins given my line of work. I'm a security guard and a club bouncer. However, I rarely ever deal with them and can use the "I don't work here" line. This particular night I was assigned to mobile checks all over the city. I was running low on gas and coffee, so I decided to stop by the bank to get money out. Boss prefers to reimburse in cash, less paperwork. As I pull into the parking lot, I see a van parked right in front of the bank. Unusual at 3 a.m., but I don't think anything of it and go in to get my money. When I come out, I hear a loud yell, "Hey you! I can't get my van started, help me!" I look over and there is this lady leaning against the van waving at me. I've got a pretty busy night, so I can't be fiddling with someone's vehicle. I yell back, offering to call a tow truck for her, and she replies with, "You're security, you can help me, get over here." I now notice she's slurring her words a bit, so I wander off, and she smells like a barmaid right after last call. I say, "I don't really work here, but I can call a tow truck for you, or a cab." She then goes off the deep end, calling me useless and a stupid rent-a-cop and insulting my appearance. I'm a little overweight, always have been. Her speech gets progressively worse, and I can tell she's leaning on the van cause she can't stand straight. So I back off a bit to my car, saying I'm gonna call a tow truck to help. And I actually called 911. It took about 5 minutes for them to arrive, and of the two cops were a friend of my dad's and an old high school football teammate of mine. I tell them my observations and what she said, so they go over and do the testing. Had her plow for a press test. My old teammate came over and told me she blew almost 4 times the legal limit. Charged with care and control while intoxicated, but could have gotten a cab ride home if she accepted my offer to call one rather than screaming at me. This happened in Australia a while ago. This occurred just before our first lockdown, and there were mandatory mask requirements when shopping at retail stores. For context, in high school and all through university, college for you Americans, I worked at mom and pop hardware store, so I know my way around hardware. Please know that in our big box hardware stores there isn't much customer service. Most staff are there to check on stock levels, stock shelves, and attend the cash register. The old war horses, the staff, are always occupied helping people, but they are in short supply. So it's a Saturday and I need some plumbing supplies. I'm in one of the most intimidating aisles for a lot of people. It's got all the copper, tap and toilet fitting. I've got all the items I need, and I've been there a good 20 minutes and I can see an older gent struggling and trying to work out what he needs. I catch his eye and he waves me over enthusiastically. I grab what he needs for a leaky cistern and instruct him how to install it. He thanks me and leaves. As I'm about to leave, another old gent waves at me and asks me for help. I show him a direct replacement for his tap washes. I then proceed to show him a ceramic fitting that basically makes sure he never has to replace washes again. He balks at the price, but I convince him to get it. Once a salesman, always a salesman. Plus, he gets a senior's discount. As I'm about to leave with a gent, a wild Karen appears from behind me. Silent as a mouse, but mousy she's not. She's dumpy. Middle-aged, big bushy brown hair and face, caked in makeup, screeching at me. "Oh, you! I want these items." As I turn, she shoves a list in my face. Now, if she had smiled at me and asked politely, I would have happily helped her. But screw that. I smile and politely decline. "Sorry, I don't work here." Indicating my clothes. I've got a blue singlet on, blue cargo shorts, pockets full with plumbing products, and the staff wear red and green. So I turn and proceed to leave. But Karen reaches out her claw-like hand and tries to turn me towards her, but I slip out of her grasp. "You help them," indicating the old fella still standing next to me. "You work here. Don't lie to me," she screams. "Ma'am, I don't work here." I attempt my best weathering gaze. "I'll let the counter know you need help and they will send someone along." I make a hasty retreat with the old gent. Karen is hot on my tail, screaming at the top of her lungs, calling me a few racist names and claiming I'm sexist, besides other choice things. I've ignored her and I think this has infuriated her more. She's tried a couple things to get a hold of me, but I've struggled it off, once of which she loses her footing and trips. This enables me to get the hell out of Dodge. I can hear her lumbering along on my heels, screeching like a velociraptor. A member of staff, let's call her S, intercepts Karen and asks her to stop screaming. Karen points to me and starts ranting about me, calling me names and making up a story about me being rude, racist, and assaulting her. Clearly, as soon as she says assault, the situation has now escalated and she's in for a very big surprise. S turns to me and rolls her eyes. She knows this is going to be a long one. I do too. I turn to the old gent and tell him to get in line because this is going to be a while. He tells me it's fine. I'll need a witness. My heart bursts a little. So security gets called. I have a quick conversation with the manager and relay the events that have unfolded. The old man relays the same thing. I also indicate that there are multiple security cameras around the place. I ask the manager if she can remind Karen that there are multiple security cameras around. Police get called anyway, and unlucky for her, no time to recant, there is already a patrol car in the parking lot. They just had lunch. They isolate us, me, the old fella and Karen, and do a quick interview. So I'm chilling in the office 60-ish minutes. Officers come in and have reviewed the tapes and ask if I want to press any charges. I declined and they let me go. The manager is waiting for me and walks me to the checkout, letting me know Karen is getting a lifetime ban. Didn't know they even did that. I pay for my plumbing supplies with a trade discount. Yeah. As I'm walking to the exit, I see the old fella sitting on a bench. He gets up and asks me if I want sausage. We have a good laugh over sausage with onion and a Coke. I offered to come over and fit the tap washes for him, and we organize a time for tomorrow morning for me to drop by. He actually only lives a street away from me. As I'm getting in my car, Karen emerges with the cops and the manager. She looks distressed. At least she's not in cuffs. I know she's not got many options. So I drive by as she's talking to someone on the phone and wind down my window. Hey, see across the road the sign that says X? They are a trade plumbing supply stores. If you go there and don't be a witch, they will have everything on your list. This happened last night. I am now in a good enough spot to actually post this. I'm not quite sure if it qualifies as pro, but it definitely isn't pity. I'm a professional driver. As such, on the roads in the US, there are different truck stops throughout the county that have a pay-to-park system. Usually about 10 to 20% of the lot marked off as reserved, with each space running from the $15 to $25. The truck stop where this took place had parking for $17, which is relatively cheap for a guaranteed spot. The spots are reserved for 24 hours, starting at 4 p.m. local time and extending to 3 p.m. the following afternoon. I knew that I would have a late night delivery, so I came to the truck stop around 3:30 and paid for a reserved spot. I told the manager on duty that I had a delivery of the road that night and would be back once delivery was completed, but should still be able to clear out the spot by the next afternoon. Today, she told me that this was okay and she would mark the spot as sold when I left. That way, if someone else comes in trying to reserve that spot, she could consult her notes and deny the sale. 11:15 p.m. rolls around. I take off for my delivery. I don't get out of that facility until 2:30 a.m. the next morning, So I groggily drive back to the truck stop to reclaim my paid-for spot, only to find that the reserved parking spaces are all full. I call the manager on duty and after giving her my information, inform her that all the spots are full and that someone has parked in a spot and hasn't paid for it. She sends her other employee out to start checking trucks. The culprit was from a company that is known for their bright orange trailers, and he was a company driver. The other employee starts banging on his door to inform him that he is parked illegally and he has to move. Meanwhile, I can see the commotion from my mirror, with my vantage point in the fuel island, where I have been instructed to temporarily park. The driver answers the door with a drink in one hand and some sort of smoking implements in another. I decided to roll down the window to hear the commotion, and I hear the employee tell the driver to either move or he will get the towing company and police involved. This driver is flat out irate that someone had the audacity to tell him where he can and cannot park. So he slams the door on the employee, threatening him. The employee calls the police and tow company, and the police show up first. I had worked for this company before, so I know their policies, and more importantly, what they can and cannot have in their trucks. Alcoholic beverages are not allowed in the cab. Anything that isn't a cigarette or a cigar and a lighter also not allowed. A coup de grace, a pew-pew of any kind, absolutely not allowed, and especially not allowed loaded. This driver had all that, and some other not-so-legal substances in his cab, so he was hauled away in cuffs. His truck was hauled away on a wrecker. I made a call after the commotion died down to the company safety director and informed them that their rig will be in an inbound lot, and their driver is going to jail over the not-so-legal stuff he had in his truck. She thanked me and said that he will definitely lose his job, especially over the alcohol and the other not-so-legal stuff. I guess he played the screw around and find out card, and it bit him in his career. For context, I share a 5-bedroom home with 4 other small families. My neighbors are from a Spanish-speaking country and don't know English very well. The language barrier is large between us. The way this house was built in 2015 does not allow for a very good ventilation between rooms or floors. Additionally, the HVAC system doesn't have thermometers in each room. Instead, it's combined with a thermostat, one of which is located in the hall I share with my neighbors. It reads 68 Fahrenheit, 20 Celsius on average, but that's with both bedrooms' doors closed. Thus, the temperature in either one of our rooms can vary drastically. Since we share a thermostat, you can see where this is going. The landlord has expressed his wishes to keep the thermostat above 60 Fahrenheit as long as it's colder than that outside. Easy enough. Open the window when it's hot and close it when it's cold. My desk is next to both of our windows, so that's primarily been my responsibility. Both parties tend to avoid conflict, so we haven't discussed this face to face or even through text. Every so often my roommate and I will notice that it's uncomfortably hot or cold. Every time we've checked the thermostat, it's been set to either 80 Fahrenheit or 50. Naturally, we set it back to heat, 64, and cool to 70. Apparently, this does not suffice for our neighbors. They have been, over the past months, been continuously setting the thermostat back to 50, even when it's below 40 Fahrenheit outside. But here is a kicker. The AC wasn't even running until yesterday. The air coming out of the vents has been cold because most of our HVAC system is an uninsulated garage. This knowledge was gifted to us by the landlord, who also doesn't speak Spanish, and he assumed we would pass the information to our neighbors. Yet again, as predicted, they set the thermostat to 50 Fahrenheit, but this time we let it run like that all night, making sure to grab all the blankets from the shared laundry room. Remember, when the temperature in a room changes while the door is closed, the thermometer can't tell until the door opens. They sleep with their door locked. So all night the HVAC system was blowing frigid air into their room. We woke up the next morning with the thermostat set to 66 or 70. Sweet, sweet victory. I know this is pity, but man, oh man, is it nice to have a comfortable temperature to sleep in. I work as a security officer for airport screening. I had one particular passenger be completely rude and impatient while I was in the middle of doing a search of her bag and had to put all her 100mm liquids, aerosols, and gels into the designated 1-liter bag. I go through all the time with my stuff like this, and I don't have issues. This is absolutely ridiculous. It was fine in Pearson. And blah blah blah, the whole works. It got to the point where other passengers looked and felt visibly bad for myself. The more I explained the logic and reasoning for such protocol, the more words she decided to hurl at me. Anywho, we get told to ask passengers if they need help pre-packing their bags. For context, I'm really good at reorganizing bags to their former orientation to an absolute T. So I knew I wouldn't have trouble sorting this lady's products back into their separate containers. But I knew she was going to be an absolute jerk about it, so I baited her. Thanks for your patience. Would you like me to pack your bag for you? And in the most rude, assertive tone I've heard, she uttered a stern, "Oh yes." Ha, got him. Alright, that's fine by me, but it's your time, not mine, was my response with a smile. So I took my sweet, sweet time, slowly but surely repacking her individual liquids, aerosols, and gels into their separate containers, and she got so pissy to the point that she grabbed the tray with her carry-on from my reach and hastily repacked her stuff herself. Little did she know, if her liquids appeared abundant and separate in her bag through another airport in my country, that she'll most likely have to go through this again if they flag her bag. I had several passengers compliment my work and thank me for my service after seeing that interaction. Overall, it was a good day.
And now we have reached the end of today's stories. Thank you for watching and see you next time.